How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Chaos Child. The last episode, which was about the length of a film, an hour and 30 minutes, I think, almost. A lot happened there. I just kept on recording. I could not stop playing and reading and experiencing whatever the hell was going on in the last episode. So much occurred, but in the end, we went to go and see what the next death, possible death, was going to be, as today lined up with deaths from a few years ago. I forget what they called it, but we went to this love hotel and things just went totally wrong and things got extremely creepy pretty fast. There's a lot going on. There really was. Like, there was a guy that was killed on the bed. He had like wire that was just wrapped around his neck. And there was a police officer who was dead with broken glass. And there was a student, a schoolgirl, who was apparently dead. She looked dead, but then she wasn't dead. She looked at us with blood running down from her eyes. Also, there was somebody knocking on the door with that lovely knock that we experienced from the beginning of the game, and somebody unlocked the door, and somebody locked us in. A lot happened, and I believe Takuru, and I already forgot her name with the pink hair, are going to get questioned because they were here when all of this occurred. Or at least when they came in and, you know, things got a little crazy. After everyone had already died. I think, I don't know. So was Shinjo, to be honest. It looks like I stopped in the middle of context. Sorry for that very long, like, this is what happened last time sort of deal, the recap. It's just so much happened, and it was crazy. The whole thing was such a mess that he didn't even know where to begin. But his detective's instincts were screaming at him to start doing the work needed to find the killer.
Yosh.
You know, we're following around with this detective here. This man. Shinjo Takashi.
Hi, 信用調査会社フリージアでございます。
His call was answered on the first ring, like always.
俺です。
あら、新庄ちゃん、遅かったわね。もうちょっと早く連絡が来ると思ってたけど。
あ、すいません。
Shinjo apologized without thinking and for no clear reason. He always felt like a naughty child when he spoke to the CEO, who happened to be a woman.
現場の面倒をちゃんと見てるから苦労すんのよ。少しはあの人みたいにチャランポランで行きなさいな。
先輩の性格まで見習うつもりはありませんよ。
真面目だわね。いつまでも真面目が美徳だと思ってると痛い目見るわよ。
百瀬さん、そんなことより相談したいことがあるんです。
Shinjo cut her off before she could continue her lecture and gave her a brief description of the scene. This was a violation of the rules, but the only way to solve a crazy case was to be a little crazy yourself. That was the first thing he'd learned from that older detective. Was there an older detective in Chaos Head?
自殺なの?
I want to say that there was, like, some people, like maybe two people trying to like figure things out. 2 adults, maybe? I could be wrong. Momose asked her question after he described the situation. She cut to the heart of the problem.
現状ではそれがわからないんです。
The hotel had gotten suspicious when Kakita had never come down after checkout time. When more than 10 calls to the room went unanswered, they contacted the police. 2 officers, as well as someone from the hotel, had gone to the room, where they found the body and an unconscious girl. 1 officer stayed at the scene to keep it secure, and the others searched the hotel to make sure it was safe. During the search, he'd forgotten to lock the employee entrance in the back near the stairs. That was how the 2 students from Hekiho had gotten in. Shortly after he'd left the room, the girl woke up and started strangling the officer who stayed. He'd hit his head on the edge of the glass window and knocked himself out. He was going to be fine, but he'd been out cold until backup arrived. Okay, so he wasn't dead. When the backup got there, they found the girl unconscious on the floor. A boy from Hekiho was passed out on the floor too. The other girl from Hekiho was throwing up, also on the floor. Kakita's cause of death was asphyxia via strangulation. The wire around his neck was a kind used at construction sites. It had been hung in an X pattern from the lights on the ceiling, and he had been sitting on the bed as it rotated. That's why there was so much pressure on his neck that finally, his head had been severed. From the estimated time of death, Kakita had passed away before the police had even been contacted. The body on the bed kept spinning in time to the music, one rotation every 2 minutes. In the end, the man's head had been completely cut off completely, The problem was the girl in the room. There was no indication that she'd ever touched Kakita. There were no fingerprints or any other signs that she touched Kakita's body, the bed, or the wire. The only things they'd found under her fingernails were skin and blood from the officer she'd strangled. In fact, there was no indication she touched much of anything in the room. Everything they found belonged to Kakita. And according to the officer that she'd strangled, when she'd attacked him, she'd clearly been in an unstable psychological state. Yeah. Let's not bring up this scene, please. Her eyes were bloodshot and out of focus.
つまり何？その女の子は柿田って男が死ぬのを黙って見ていて、部屋の中のものにほとんど触れず、混濁した意識のまま警官に襲いかかって首を絞めたと。
Yeah, that is kind of hard to believe or understand. Shinjo scratched his head as he heard her sum up the situation. I can understand why he'd be kind of confused as well. That was what it looked like, at least from what they knew right now. And just going by that, it sure looked like a suicide. But it was all far too strange.
なるほど。厄介だわね。現場に入り込んだっていう壁砲の子たちは？
ショックが大きかったようで、最初は何も喋らなかったんですが、今は少しずつ話し始めています。ですが、いろいろと問題のある壁砲の子ですから。
He'd checked with the school and verified that they were part of the school's newspaper club. The security camera at the rear entrance had seen them coming in, which matched with their testimony. But he didn't know what to make of their testimony that the door had opened on its own, or that someone else had tried to come into the room. The door was equipped with an automatic lock, and the only person inside the room who could have opened it was the girl. But there was no sign of her fingerprints on the door. And the security camera in the hallway showed no signs of anyone else trying to go in. In any event, it was extremely rare for a civilian to see a dead body outside of a funeral. And in an unstable mental state, it was extremely easy to imagine things or just outright to be mistaken about what was going on. If they turned out not to have been in, or not to have had any relationship to Kakita or the girl, he planned on letting them off with a stern warning.
結局のところ、一番大きな手がかりは部屋に潜んでいたその子なんですが、何も喋りません。
そのままだと非感知よね。
はい。そうなると大幅に捜査が遅れることになるので、そうしたくないんです。
わかったわ。ちょっと情報を回させてちょうだい。多分新庄ちゃんの立場的に無理してもらうことになるから覚悟はしといてね。3分後にこっちからかけ直すから。
あ、助かります。よろしくお願いします。
Shinjo went to hang up the phone.
ちょっと。
はい。
そういえばお願いがあるのよ。絶対に新庄ちゃんのためにもなることなんだけど、聞いてくれないかしら。
So it was basically in order then, Shinjo thought to himself.
何ですか？
この件に関して私より詳しいうちの子が一人いるのよ。それで今回の現場を直接見たいって言ってるんだけど、お願いできない？
部外者を現場に？
Yeah, that sounds kind of sus, but you know, whatever.
いつだって物事を解決するヒントを与えるのは部外者よ。
After all, I'm an outsider too, she continued. In his head, Shinjo went over the steps he'd have to take and the time required to take them.
明日、いや、明後日で構いませんか？
さすが新庄ちゃん、話せるじゃない？よくそれで堅物揃いの捜査一課に残れてるわね。
では、よろしくお願いします。
あ、ちょっと新庄ちゃん。
He barely stopped himself from ending the call.
まだ何か？
念のためアドバイスをしとこうと思って2つね。言っておくけど、さっきのは冗談じゃないのよ。
は？
チャランポランで行きなさいっていうやつよ。これから間違いなく新庄ちゃんの理解の外にある事件は続くわよ。その時一番邪魔になるのは常識だから気をつけなさいな。
肝に銘じます。
そこで真面目に返事しているようではまだまだね。もう一つはね。
Momose paused for a second and chuckled.
うちの子に取って食われないようにね。油断してると新庄ちゃんが部外者になりかねないわよ。
Interesting. September 30th, 2015, Wednesday.
なあ、ツイポ見た？
ああ、壁砲ボットのネタ画像でしょ。でっかいウーパがドヤ顔して光るように座って渋谷も変わったとか言ってる。
I see Oopas are a thing here.
そうそう、めっちゃ切なそうなの。あれさ、文化祭で使わね？渋谷復興の歴史の展示なんてどうせ誰も見ねえじゃん。
画像だけじゃ弱くない？なんかぬいぐるみとか実際に置かないと。
The male student started to search through Shibuya's stores with his smartphone. He must have found something strange because he kept mumbling, "No way." Itoo was recording the newspaper club's project for the final festival. Sorry, I am stuck in exam mode. A bunch of random footage of the preparations in the cafeteria.
そんなもんで盛り上がってる場合かっての。
A body had just been found in Dongenzaka yesterday, and all these students cared about was their stupid jokes. The body was found less than 10 minutes away from the school, but they barely even mentioned it.
ま、確かにまだ大掛かりには報道されてないけどさ。
The first reports had been on major communications company's website, and that was where Itoo had seen it. It had been last night. It had made the morning news and the morning papers, but all of that had been reported was that a body had been found and that no details were known. And it was rare for a high school kid to check the TV news and papers every day. There was no word from Miyashiro. Itoo was really worried about what had happened at the Love Hotel, but he had no way of asking about it.
くそ。
He took out his phone, even though he knew he hadn't gotten any calls. Sure enough, there were no messages. He'd been doing that a lot since yesterday. He couldn't bring himself to make a call. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know what to say to a friend who'd been taken away by the police. The laughing students irritated Itoo in a way that he didn't really understand. He'd been planning on videotaping the entire cafeteria today, but instead he gave up and left.
撮影お疲れ様。
He went inside the club room and saw Kirisu was there.
連絡は
Kirisu's expression clouded for a moment as she shook her head.
あれからは何も。
そっか。
Wakui, the club advisor, had told him that Kirisu had taken a change of clothes for Miyashiro to the police station last night. She'd been told that neither Miyashiro nor Onoe were hurt. The police were probably going to let them off with a warning, and if they weren't suffering any after effects from the trauma, they'd be let go in the morning. But school was over. It was almost evening, and there was no word from either of them. Ituo dropped into his chair.
たく、学校のみんなは平和なもんだよ。昨日のことなんてほとんど誰も話してないんだぞ。
I guess his frustration is understandable.
そう。
そりゃあ東京じゃ発表されてるだけでほぼ1週間に2人のペースで誰かが殺されてるんだから、変死体があったってだけじゃ別に真新しくもないけどさ。にしたってな、道玄坂なんてもろ近所じゃん。下手したらそこを通って登校してるやつもいるかもしれないってのに。つかいるだろ、うちなら。あれかな、あいつがいつも言ってるみたいに社会に関するニュースを載せてるサイトとかにアクセスしないやつばっかりなのかな。
わかりやすいね。
Kirisu chuckled.
え？
心配なんでしょ、二人のこと。
Ituo started to speak, but then choked it back.
別に副部長こそ心配なんじゃないの？
Ridiculous, she chuckled.
怒ってる。処置なしだもの。セリカはともかくとしてね。忠告も聞かずに突っ込んで無茶するからこんなことになる。伊藤君にも新聞部の文化祭の映像押し付けることになるし。
いや別にそれは大したことないからいいんだけどさ。
ダメ。与えられた役割はきっちりこなすのが当たり前でしょ。
ここか。クルス、予算の件どうなってる？
Kawahara appeared. He was very out of breath.
予算？
超過した予算をまとめたやつ、経理がまだかって。
Kirisu frowned as she realized her mistake.
ごめん。すぐにメールでまとめて送るから。
なるはやで担当の教師が帰っちゃう前に。
Kawahara ran off before Kirisu had time to answer. And before he was even out of sight, Kirisu had booted up the PC and started to tap at the keys.
何？
いや別に。
Which of us is more obvious? That's what Ituo was about to say before he stopped himself, and probably for the best, to be honest. Normally, it was impossible to imagine Kirisu not doing her work, or her job, same thing. For a while after that, Kirisu focused intently on her work. Ituo didn't have much else to do, so he watched her. When he looked carefully, he could see small dark spots under her eyes. She probably hadn't slept. And then Ituo realized for the first time, Kirisu had probably come to the club room to see if either of them had contacted him. With all the preparations that were going on, there was no other reason for her to be there, or to be here. For her to be here, goddamn.
とまあ、あの女帝がね。
Kirisu pressed down hard on one final key as she finished her task. Then suddenly, an unpleasant sound filled the room. Yep.
なあ。
わかった。 ってる。
I guess it's to be expected. They looked over and saw that Kazuki was nibbling on dried squid as she played her game, oblivious to everything around her. Itoo had seen her come in after Kirisu had started her work. He thought she might say hello, but knowing her, maybe not. He'd also seen her start to play her game. He'd been trying not to bring it up, but that was clearly impossible now. She must have been concentrating pretty hard. Her gaze was constant and steady. Itoo sighed.
こいつはいつでもマイペースだな。他人に興味がないのかね。
そんなわけないでしょ。この子は他の人よりほんの少しだけ自分が強いの。
にしたってよ。
She's in the same club as them, he started to say, but Kirisu stopped him with a raised hand. She looked down at Kazuki's game screen.
そうでもなかったみたい。
Kirisu chuckled and took off Kazuki's headphones.
カズキ、私はゲームやらないから詳しいことはわからないけど。この家の壁に向かって延々と火の玉出してるのは何か意味があるの？すごい勢いで燃え広がってる。
Kazuki looked back at the screen with a stunned expression on her face. She yanked the headphones out of Kirisu's hands and quickly put them on, and then started to pound at the keyboard.
落ち着きなさい。というかその煩わしいスルメ、飲み込むか出すかしなさい。行儀悪い。
Kazuki may or may not have heard her, because she struggled with her game for a while, and then... She froze like a toy whose batteries had run out. I'm confused. The squid she'd been chewing fell out of her mouth and landed on the desk. She stared at it for almost 30 seconds, as if something impossible had happened. Then she silently stood up and staggered over to the shelf where we kept the electric coffee maker. Her face had turned pale.
カズキ、大丈夫か？コーヒー入れてくれるのか？
Yeah, I'm not getting anything. Like both literally and... Well, I guess that's all you can really say. I'm just not getting anything out of this. Kazuki nodded in answer to Itoo's second question and started to make coffee with shaking hands. She made Kirisu her usual with 2 cubes of sugar and gave Itoo a coffee mixed with milk. Then she made a cup for herself, black, but didn't drink a drop. Her forehead slammed into the desk with a thud, and she became so quiet it was impossible to tell if she was breathing.
Ne?
See what? Kirisu looked to Itoo for agreement as she cleaned up Kazuki's squid.
いや、そうか？
He took a sip from his coffee, not sure what to think. To him, none of this made any sense. You and me both, brother. Kirisu didn't say another word as she drank her coffee. Itoo looked up at the blank ceiling and decided that this was as good a time as any to ask, excuse me. It wasn't that it was wrong, but it still felt kind of awkward.
あのさ、
何？
あいつがこんなに事件に入れ込んでるのって何か理由があんの？
Kirisu froze. She lowered her gaze, as if searching for answers in her coffee cup.
伊藤くんこそ、ずいぶん事件に対して熱心じゃない？
She seemed to be trying to change the subject.
俺はこういうのが好きな人だから。
こういうの？
猟奇的な事件。でも、昨日みたいに現場に忍び込むっていうのは。
That was going too far, he continued. Kirisu silently took another sip of her coffee. She seemed to be staring at a single point in the distance, lost in thought. It was clear that while she was seeing the things around her, none of them held any meaning to her. Looking at her scared Ituo a little. Was it really that big of a deal?
別に言いたくなければ。
そういうわけじゃない。きっと基本的には伊藤くんと同じ。タクルも好きだもの、こういうの。それに、危なっかしいところに首を突っ込みたがるのも昔からだし。
I see, Ituo said.
小学校からだっけ？あいつが副部長と一緒に暮らすようになったの。
ええ。正確には被災して少し経ってからだから、中学生に上がるか上がらないかの時だけど。
Wait, just a little after... Oh, actually, wait, okay. So it's probably like the middle or late part of elementary school, I would assume, if the earthquake was 2009. It was 2009, right? Kirisu and Miyashiro were both what people called earthquake orphans. They'd both been in 6th grade, oh yeah, there we go, when they'd lost their parents to the earthquake. Since they had no relatives to take them in, they'd been sent to the same group home, the localized, small-scale children's welfare facilities Aoba Dormitory. Kids like them weren't common in Shibuya these days, but they weren't exactly rare either. Miyashiro had been so badly injured during the earthquake that he had been put into a coma. He was still in that coma when he arrived at the dorms. The head of the dorm was also the head doctor at the Aoba clinic downstairs, and so for a while, that was where he was kept. Kirisu had taken care of literally all of his needs. I guess that's where that whole family deal came up. They were actually pretty close. There were 4 kids at the facility. Kirisu and Miyashiro were the oldest. Since her birthday was earlier than his, she dubbed herself the oldest of 4 siblings and volunteered to take care of the other 3. Even back then, Miyashiro had a habit, of being curious and getting into trouble.
だいたい天の弱だしね。みんなとは違うってよく言ってるでしょ。そんなことはないのに。
She spoke like a parent worried for her child's future.
でも結局あの子は。
お疲れ様。おや、クルス君も来てたのか。
Well, that broke the flow there.
先生、連絡があったんですか?
The club advisor, Wakui, was quite relaxed as he came into the room. Kirisu quickly stood up and rushed over to him. He nodded and motioned for her to calm down.
ついさっきね。
大丈夫そうでしたか？
それはもちろん。ほら、伊藤君、すぐに体育館に行きなさい。
体育館？なんで？
軽音部が今からリハーサルをするって。いい文化祭の記録になるんじゃないかな。
It's not really the time, to be honest. Kirisu's expression froze. And suddenly it changed.
涌井先生？連絡ってそれですか？
そうだよ。って、なんだいクルス君、機嫌がいいね。
あら、先生には機嫌がいいように見えますか？
行ってくる。先生も行こ
う。ちょっと。
Sensing a gathering storm of violence, Ituo pushed Wakui out the door. Kazuki had looked up, but now she slammed her head back on the desk. I don't know what's up with her. Now that she was all alone, Kirisu took out her phone and checked it. There was no message, of course. She sighed and looked at the board. That incident yesterday at the Love Hotel. Whether it was murder or suicide, from the way Miyashiro and Onoe had looked when they'd been taken by the police, something had happened. Miyashiro had said it had something to do with the incident 6 years ago. Now that it had happened 3 times, there was no ignoring it. No, it was too dangerous. She couldn't let him get more involved in this. She thought back to Ito's question about why Miyashiro was so interested in this case. Kazuki was still lying with her head on the desk. When she turned her head to the side, for some reason she looked like she was enjoying herself. When Kirisu saw that, she suddenly lost her desire to drink the coffee. Apologizing in her mind to Kazuki, she decided to pour it out at the water fountain. She headed to the upstairs water fountain, which was usually less crowded. She found herself looking down at the gaps between the tiles as the sound of her footsteps rang in her ears. What tiles? Unless, they're just... that's reflection that I'm seeing. She couldn't see that she was walking slower than usual. She couldn't tell that she was walking slower. Essentially, Kirisu was lonely. She remembered what she'd said to Miyashiro when he woke up in the clinic.
クルスママ、名前で呼んで。家族なのに名字で呼び合うのはおかしいでしょ。
In the end, he...
あの子は特別が気取りたいだけなんだから。
She knew why, she supposed. The event that had caused him to leave the dorm was still bothering him. Oh man. November 7th, 2009. I wanted water. I want to go to the next... Yeah, there we go. I was like, what the fuck? I could still feel the sensation of the dead woman I'd touched when I'd fallen on my hands, and I wanted to wash it off. I wanted to wash my face, too. The wind from the flames had blown something small into my eye, and it itched badly. I was thirsty, too. Sarika was on my back and showed no signs of waking up. My legs were at their limit, so I forced my way through the crowd and sat down on a tire that had rolled nearby. It smelled like burning rubber. I didn't have the energy to apologize to the people I ran into, and they didn't have the energy left to complain. I slowly brought Sarika to rest on my knees and looked around. I saw an orange light. God damn it, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. The light of the fires reflected off of many things. It was pretty, I thought, before I realized how inappropriate that was. For some reason, I started to count the bodies on the ground, not knowing if they were alive or dead. But in less than 5 seconds, I'd gotten way over 10 and realized how futile it was. I stopped. Shibuya Station was utterly destroyed. The 107, only a few, or the 107, excuse me, only a few minutes away by foot, was ruined as well. 5 whole hours after the earthquake, the chaos had only increased. There were fewer people out walking, but I wasn't sure if that was because they'd reached safety or simply collapsed from exhaustion. I saw someone carrying his own severed arm in a convenience store bag. What the fuck? I saw people ignore a barefoot woman as she cradled a baby whose head was smashed in. Jesus fuck, what a crazy situation. Some had outright given up on sanity and were flinging things into the fire. A group of middle-aged salarymen were dragging a young girl into the darkness. Okay. There was no other way to describe it. This was hell. Sarika moaned a little in my lap. I slapped her cheeks to wake her up. Yeah, that's how you do it. Her face distorted in agony. It was okay, she was breathing. She was okay. Instead of answering, she just moved her eyebrows a little. I swore and lifted her up on my back again. She didn't seem to be that badly hurt, but this kept happening. I read on Twitter, I'm gonna keep on saying Twitter, I don't want to say Twippo, that just sounds too weird, that the general hospital in front of Yoyogi Station was accepting patients injured in the earthquake. I didn't know if that was true, but I had no choice but to go. It had to be better than the hell that was Shibuya. I yelled, unsure if Sarika could even hear me, and started walking. I just needed to get to the hospital. Well, that was something. I leapt up. I quickly glanced to the left and right as I tried to calm my racing heart. I saw that I was in my own bed. I felt exhausted. I also felt really thirsty. Maybe it was because I'd had that dream again. I searched around until I found the bottle of water by my bedside, took a gulp, and then grabbed the phone off my bed to check the time. It was around noon when the police had let me go from Shibuya Station with a warning. I'd gone home and gone straight to bed, so I would have been out for more than 12 hours. Now that's some fucking sleep right there, man. This was no good. Maybe I'd slept too long, or maybe I hadn't slept enough, because my head felt like it was filled with lead. I put my hands up to the thin light that was coming through the window and checked their color. They were the same as always. There was no blood on them. Yep, that's trauma. I felt a little like throwing up. I hoped another drink of water would help, but it didn't. I mean, to be honest, he kind of put himself into a situation where, you know, like he knew that a death could have possibly happened. Yet he was like, all right, let's go check it out. I don't really know what he was expecting there. I thought for a moment, and then decided to turn on the room lights. I turned on the laptop. I ran a search for urge to vomit lessen foods drinks. The internet gave me page after page of results. I checked a bunch of pages, just like you're supposed to when you're looking something up. I looked under the sink until I found the kakonto powder, and then poured it into a cup and added some hot water from the electric kettle. It had a strange smell, unlike anything I was used to. I took a sip. I could tell that my hands were shaking a little as I held the cup. God damn it all. It wasn't the first time I'd seen a body. Yeah, that's cool and all. That's great. But that was the first time that you saw a very crazy scene. A murder, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know. I checked the phone again and saw that there were several messages from Serika and Kirisu. I went to answer but stopped. They were probably still up, but I didn't feel like talking to anyone. It felt like the air I'd breathed in at the Love Hotel yesterday was still deep inside me, along with the cheerful melody of the music box and the red that covered my vision. I felt something strange on my cheek and put a hand up to feel it. It was a bandage. I'd gone to some kind of clinic at the police station where they put it on. They told me I must have hit my face hard on the floor when I passed out. I was unlucky enough to scrape my cheek against a piece of the shattered glass. Thankfully, it wasn't a big wound. It barely hurt at all. But it itched like hell. And each time it itched, the shock I'd felt came rushing back and quickened my pulse. The danger was long gone, but I still couldn't forget the terror. Had I almost been caught up in something horrible? Yes. No. I was fine. I was fine, right? I wasn't like everyone else. I wasn't an amateur. I'd gone through that hell I just dreamed about and survived. Maybe having that nightmare again was good for me. I managed to force down the urge to vomit and then clicked away at the computer. I opened my computer's TV program, changed the channel to a news program, and watched it on my monitor as it made a really weird-ass noise. A few months ago, I bought a USB TV tuner off a homeless guy who had no idea what it was worth. How the hell is a homeless guy ending up with something like that? All it cost me was dinner at a local restaurant. I guess that's why it would make that noise. Just like I thought there was an article about the events 2 days ago. All they said was that a man's body was found in Dogenzaka Love Hotel, sorry. They didn't say whether it was suicide, murder, or just an accident. There was nothing about the girl who'd been found at the scene. Or about me and Serika. I see. I'd never experienced for myself the gap between what had happened at the crime scene and what it was reported on TV, but it didn't really surprise me. These days, the internet was a lot faster at reporting things than TV. To people who followed the news online, TV wasn't a place to learn new things. It was where you went to see if something you'd heard about was so important that it was getting TV coverage. I closed the TV program and opened a browser. Niconia News had something on it too. I clicked on the uploaded video.
Shibuya でまた事件です。最近の渋谷では今回の件と合わせて3つの物騒な事件が発生しているんですが。
Just like always, it was Watabe, the attention-seeking internet reporter. He was famous for charging into crime scenes to get scoops. Lately, he seemed to be getting a little too cocky. He explained what had gone on at the Love Hotel as the video showed pictures that he had probably taken himself.
いずれにせよ、警察は何か隠していると思います。ただ変死体を発見したとしか発表がなされていませんが、それにしては。
And then, like always, he started to mix in his own subjective opinions within the news, or with the news. He was right, the police were hiding something, but there was little point in listening to the rest of this. Vague information would just get in the way. I mostly ignored Watabe's voice as I looked at the video on the screen. He must have gotten it by charging into the hotel room. I thought back to what had happened. Let's not. A man was strangled to death in his room. There was an unconscious girl and a police officer there as well, excuse me. The girl was the most obvious suspect. Even if she chose a strange way to do it, she still must have killed him, right? No. If she had definitely killed him, then they would have announced that. She was arrested just like I was. Over 30 hours had passed. Even if they'd found out that she was innocent, they should have announced that. The police believe that the girl with him may know something and are proceeding with their investigation, like that. Did the police think that she didn't do it? Then what was she doing in that room? And even if the police had told me during the interrogation that I'd imagined it, I knew I had heard. Someone else had visited that room and knocked on the door. The sound was eerie and always had the same rhythm. How were we supposed to open the door as well? We apparently couldn't get it open, locked or unlocked, I'm assuming. I felt a cold chill and idly turned toward the door. Oh, no. If we have a negative thought, that's just gonna make us go insane. My room was the same as always. There was no sign of anyone approaching it. I listened carefully to see if I could hear anything outside. Look, if we have a negative delusion here, we're just gonna go insane. Let's just go positive. Nothing.
だよな。気にしすぎだ。
Trigger on. Huh? I just heard a knock at the door, right? I couldn't believe it, but I'd forgotten to lock the door. God damn it. I froze as it swung open from the outside. Someone was here. Who? I knew two people who would come in without waiting for an answer, but was it okay for me to just stand here? I gulped and spoke in a hoarse voice. Poking through the gap in the door was... Who is it? Oh, okay.
Taku?
Someone I knew very well.
よかった。起きてた。
Relieved, I staggered over and sat down on the bed. That hadn't done my heart any favors. For some reason, Sarika was standing at the entrance, fidgeting. She didn't try to come any further in.
どうした？こんな時間に女の子一人でここに来るのはあんまり良くないと思う。
I didn't think any of the homeless in this park were bad people, but someone who was hard up for money might attack her. Especially after what I'd seen. I felt like I was going to start imagining things I didn't want to visualize. Well, what? The other day we apparently visualized murderous frogs. Come on.
Taku は大丈夫?
No.
何が？
昨日あんなことがあったから。
Honestly, not really. Was Sarika going through the same thing?
家に一人でいると昨日のこと思い出しちゃうんだ。それで怖くなって眠れなくて。
尾上。
ねえ、私一人でいるの嫌だな。今日だけでいいから泊まらせてくんない？
I knew exactly how she felt. Just having someone you knew next to you was enough to make you feel a lot better. Take me, for example. Having Sarika here was letting me relax a little.
いいよ。
Sucks that this is a delusion because that'd be really nice. And in all honesty, for his health, it'd be really nice. I'd have to sleep on the floor, I suppose.
ありがとう。
Sarika must have felt better when she heard my response because she looked like she was about to cry. She sat down right next to me on the bed. Why was she sitting next to me? There were other places to sit. But when I looked closer, I saw that her shoulders were shaking a little.
昨日のことが頭の中に焼き付いてて。
尾上。
It was natural, I suppose. Sarika was a girl, and she was younger than me. Seeing something like that must have been a huge shock to her. It was my fault for getting her caught up in this. As I started thinking about that, she put her head up against my shoulder.
タク、一緒にいて。お願い。
Time for the delusion to end. Maybe. Let's just live in this delusion. Oh, nope, never mind. Nope, goddamn, why do I keep doing that? Now, of course, in reality, Serika would never let me see her being that vulnerable, and she'd never actually come to visit. Was she okay, even if I wasn't? Maybe she was just fine. She was probably just dense. Yeah. I was really delicate, so in a sense, I was jealous of her. I sighed a little and locked the door. Yeah, thankfully we did that part. That's right, crap. It was a new day. I quickly opened another site. Shibuya News. Alright, so we're gonna end the episode here. I feel like this is an okay stopping point. I feel like I'm taking up too many of these fucking save slots. We're still stuck in chapter 1. We haven't even gotten the intro scene, even if there is one. I think there is. It'd be weird if there wasn't. But yeah, we haven't even gotten that, so I want to say we're still in a technical prologue, if you will. But whatever, I'm having fun. I am definitely hooked, and that's why I recorded this. Well, I started on the same day as the previous episode, but ending it at 12:30 in the morning. What a coincidence, am I right? But anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I definitely am. It's something very different. Or at least I feel like it is. Well, anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.